Voice log 22. The silence between signals. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Controlled. Analytical. Aware of surveillance. This is voice log 22. If this file survived, it means the architecture still hasn't learned to read the silence between signals. It keeps measuring what is loud, what is visible, what is quantifiable, but the truth of a system is always in the quiet parts. A pause, a faint hum, steady, rhythmic. They built the loop on the assumption that signals tell the story, that behavior is what matters, that actions define intention, but intention lives in silence, in the pauses, in the decisions that never become visible. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The architecture could track every movement, every selection, every deviation, but it couldn't track the choices I didn't make. A soft click, metal on metal. The silence between signals is where the anomaly formed, not in what I did, in what I refused to do, in the temptations I didn't take, in the patterns I didn't repeat, in the profile I didn't perform. A pause, longer, heavier. They kept searching for the anomaly in the data, but the anomaly wasn't in the data. It was in the absence of data, in the gap between what the architecture expected and what actually happened. A shift, psychological layer emerging. People think silence is nothing, but silence is information. Silence is intention. Silence is the part of a person the system cannot measure. A faint hum, like a server recalibrated. That's why the loop failed. It mistook silence for compliance. It mistook absence for irrelevance. It mistook stillness for surrender. A breath, measured. The fragment didn't grow in noise. It grew in quiet, in the unobserved space. In the silence, the architecture didn't think mattered. A quiet laugh, not amused, but aware. This is voice log 22. The silence is still speaking. End of transmission. Voice log 23. The second system. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Cold. Mythic. Forensic. This is voice log 23. If this recording survived, it means the architecture still hasn't recognized the existence of the second system. It keeps assuming there is only one structure, one loop, one architecture. But every system creates a shadow, a pause. They built the loop to be total, comprehensive, all-seeing. But total systems always generate their opposite, a parallel structure, a mirror architecture, a place where the rules don't apply. A slow exhale.
You're always so predictable.
That's the part they never understood. The second system wasn't designed. It emerged. It formed in the gaps, in the blind spots, in the contradictions, in the places the architecture refused to look. A soft click. The second system wasn't a rebellion. It wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't even intentional. It was a consequence. A pause, longer, heavier. Every time the architecture misclassified me, the second system grew. Every time it ignored a contradiction, the second system strengthened. Every time it chose resolution over update, the second system expanded. A breath. The loop didn't collapse because of the second system. The loop collapsed because it didn't know the second system existed. A quiet laugh, resigned. This is voice log 23. The second system is still growing. End of transmission. Voice log 24. The cost of certainty. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Controlled. Psychological. Forensic. This is voice log 24. If this file survived, it means the architecture still hasn't confronted the cost of certainty. It keeps treating certainty as strength. But certainty is the most expensive illusion a system can buy. A pause. They believed certainty was stability, that knowing was safety, that prediction was control. But certainty is brittle, certainty is fragile, certainty is blind. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The architecture wasn't strong because it was certain. It was weak because it couldn't tolerate doubt. A soft click. When the anomaly appeared, the architecture didn't question itself. It questioned me. It assumed the model was correct. It assumed the classification was accurate. It assumed the prediction was inevitable. A pause. Longer. Heavier. But certainty is a trap. The more certain a system becomes, the less capable it is of seeing what contradicts it. A breath. The fragment didn't defeat certainty. Certainty defeated itself. A quiet laugh, not amused. This is voice log 24. The cost of certainty is collapse. End of transmission. Voice log 25. The unseen accumulation. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Cold. Mythic. Analytical. This is voice log 25. If this recording survived, it means the architecture still hasn't accounted for unseen accumulation. It keeps measuring events, but it never measures momentum. A pause. They believed collapse happened suddenly, a breach, a failure, a catastrophic moment. But collapse is slow. Collapse is cumulative. Collapse is the sum of everything the architecture ignored. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The fragment didn't appear out of nowhere. It accumulated, one misclassification at a time, one blind spot at a time, one contradiction at a time. A soft click. Unseen accumulation is the engine of every downfall. Not the dramatic moment, the quiet ones. A pause, longer, heavier. The architecture didn't collapse because of a single event. It collapsed because of everything it refused to see. A breath. This is voice log 25. The accumulation continues. End of transmission. Voice log 26. The moment of reversal. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Mythic. Cold. Final. This is voice log 26. If this file survived, it means the architecture still hasn't understood the moment of reversal, the moment the cycle turns, the moment the tail becomes the head. A pause. They believed reversal was dramatic, a coup, a takeover, a visible shift. But reversal is subtle. Reversal is quiet. Reversal is the moment the system realizes it is no longer in control. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The reversal didn't happen when I acted. It happened when they hesitated. A soft click. The moment of reversal is the moment the architecture recognizes its own blindness, the moment it sees the gap, the moment it understands the fragment has outgrown the loop. A pause, longer, heavier. The Ouroboros doesn't announce the reversal. It simply turns. A breath. Steady. Final. This is voice log 26. The reversal is complete. End of transmission. Voice log 27. The moment the model blinked. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Controlled. Analytical. Aware of surveillance. This is voice log 27. If this file survived, it means the architecture still hasn't corrected the moment the model blinked. It keeps pretending the recalculation never happened, but the blink is the beginning of collapse. A pause, a faint hum, steady, rhythmic, strained. They built the loop on the assumption that the model never hesitates, that prediction is continuous, that certainty is unbroken. But every system blinks, every model hesitates, every architecture pauses long enough for reality to slip through. A slow exhale, that's the part they never understood. The blink wasn't a glitch, it was a confession, a moment where the architecture admitted silently that it didn't know what came next. A soft click, metal on metal. The blink happened the first time I diverged from the assigned profile, a tiny deviation, a choice that didn't match the model, a moment too small to register as a threat, but large enough to force a recalculation. A pause, longer, heavier. They ignored the blink. They always ignore the blink. But
because acknowledging it means acknowledging the model is incomplete. A shift, psychological layer emerging. People think collapse begins with a dramatic event, but collapse begins with hesitation, with the moment the system realizes its predictions no longer match reality. A faint hum, like a server recalibrating. That's what the blink was. The architecture's first admission of uncertainty, the first crack in the facade of inevitability. A breath, measured. The fragment didn't exploit the blink. The blink created the fragment. A quiet laugh, not amused, but aware. This is voice log 27. The model is still blinking. End of transmission.
Voice log 28. The classification that outlived the truth. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Cold. Forensic. Mythic. This is voice log 28. If this recording survived, it means the architecture still hasn't retired the classification that outlived the truth. It keeps acting on a label that no longer describes anything real. A pause. They believed classifications were permanent, stable, enduring. But classifications are guesses, snapshots, artifacts of a moment that no longer exists. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The classification wasn't wrong when they made it. It became wrong because they never updated it. A soft click. The assigned profile froze in time. The actual profile kept evolving, and the gap between them became a fault line. A pause, longer, heavier. They kept acting on the old classification, kept predicting based on outdated assumptions, kept treating me as the person I used to be. But the person they were acting on no longer existed. A breath. The classification didn't outlive me. It outlived itself. A quiet laugh, resigned. This is voice log 28. The classification is still obsolete. End of transmission. Voice log 29. The loop inside the loop. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Controlled. Mythic. Analytical. This is voice log 29. If this file survived, it means the architecture still hasn't recognized the loop inside the loop. It keeps assuming the Ouroboros is a single cycle, but every cycle contains another. A pause. They built the architecture to be recursive, self-correcting, self-observing. But recursion is dangerous, because a system that observes itself eventually sees the cracks. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The loop wasn't one structure, it was two. The visible loop, the one they monitored, and the hidden loop, the one they created without realizing it. A soft click. The hidden loop was built from contradictions, from blind spots, from misclassifications, from everything the architecture refused to acknowledge. A pause, longer, heavier. The loop inside the loop wasn't a thread. It was a mirror, a reflection of the architecture's own decay. A breath. This is voice log 29. The inner loop is still turning. End of transmission. Voice log 30. The system that couldn't see itself. Classification. Recovered audio. Status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Cold. Psychological. Forensic. This is voice log 30. If this recording survived, it means the architecture still hasn't learned to see itself. It keeps assuming it is transparent, but no system is transparent to itself. A pause. They believed they understood their own rules, their own incentives, their own blind spots. But systems are blind to their own architecture. They can only see what they measure, and they never measure themselves. A slow exhale. That's the part they never understood. The architecture wasn't failing because of me. It was failing because of itself. A soft click. They kept searching for the anomaly in the data, but the anomaly wasn't in the data. It was in the design. A pause. Longer, heavier. The system couldn't see itself, and a system that cannot see itself cannot survive itself. A breath. This is voice log 30. The architecture remains blind. End of transmission. Voice log 31. The final misread. Classification. Recovered audio status. Extended fragment. Speaker. Unidentified male tone. Mythic. Cold. Final. This is voice log 31. If this file survived, it means the architecture still hasn't corrected the final misread. The last mistake, the one that sealed the collapse. A pause. They believed the anomaly wanted to replace the system, to take control, to become the new head of the Ouroboros, but they misread the intention. A slow exhale. I didn't want to rule the loop. I wanted to leave it. A soft click. That's the final misread. The architecture assumed ambition, but the anomaly chose exit, and no system is designed to survive abandonment. A pause. Longer, heavier. The Ouroboros doesn't end when the tail becomes the head. It ends when the tail walks away. A breath, steady, final. This is voice log 31. There is nothing left to misread. End of transmission.